We welcome to the studio Broome County's Republican Chairman, Benji Federman. Welcome to WNBF. It's good to have you with us. You've been the county chairman now for, I believe, about 11 months.
Yep, that's correct. Well, first of all, Bob, I just want to say it's a pleasure to be in the studio. I had the opportunity to be here kind of behind the scenes as I worked in a legislative capacity with Fred Akshar over the years, and then helping a few candidates who appeared in your studio. So to be behind the microphone, it's a pleasure, and just happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
It must be a dream come true.
Yeah, I watch your show. It's maybe not a dream come true, but
it's nice.
It's very nice.
I mean,
yes.
The fact that we still have this type of program in Binghamton where people are allowed to talk about so many things, politics or business or potholes on Court Street or whatever, it's special. There aren't that many towns that have this type of 3-hour program, and people are able to a large extent drive the topics and so on.
Yeah, I mean, I have a special appreciation for that just because I had the pleasure of working for the state legislature under then Senator Fred Akshar, and I worked in constituent services in his office, and you would never know the phone calls that we would get on a daily basis. People could be calling about the DMV, potholes, gun legislation. It really let me get to know the community very well, being from the Albany area.
And especially these days, when people encounter just difficulties regarding anything, sometimes most of the time if you call an office, unless you actually know someone's specific extension or have inside information, a lot of times you're going to be met with, your call's important to us. And then the recording goes on to explain how many options you have to leave a message for someone who later will determine whether your call really is of enough value to act on. But the fact that people know they can contact elected officials, whether it's state or federal elected officials who have district representatives and generally do their best to be responsive to constituents' needs, because after all, if you're interested, I've encountered very few people who win one term in any office who say, yep, it's going to be one term and done. I mean, everybody, once you are elected, your hope is that you're going to stay around for a while, and constituent service is going to be crucial.
Yep, that's absolutely right. And, public service is something that I've kind of, found. If I can give you a little background on myself, just because I'm sure the majority of your listeners don't know who I am. I grew up in the Albany area. My dad worked in Republican politics. We were discussing, worked for Governor Pataki. I came to Binghamton for school, went to SUNY Binghamton. And in 2015, Fred Akshar's campaign office popped up when he was replacing then Senator Tom Libous. And I walked over to his campaign office and I knocked on the door and I said, hey, can I come and volunteer some hours? And they're like, oh, yeah, sure, kid. If you want to print some literature and hang around and learn the game, come on in. So that knock on the door turned into a long 7-year career in that office. And now I'm kind of embarking on my own journey as Republican chair. That experience was a great crash course in politics. Ran a lot of political campaigns, did the government work, learned about the issues that residents care about. And, I'm happy to kind of use those skills and that experience to help the Republican Party win races locally.
So what intrigues you about government and politics? Why, as a young person, did you become interested in what goes on? Was it strictly because of what your father did?
Well, my grandfather did work for a Republican in Manhattan, probably one of the last Congress members who was a Republican in Manhattan, Teddy Kufferman. My dad did work in politics. And then ultimately, it's just been the people that I've worked alongside that have really inspired me. Obviously, my former boss was a huge influence on me. But getting out into the community is what really matters. We traveled this district so many times. I'm sure some of your listeners might even recognize my voice from the amount of people that I spoke to on the phones over the years or saw out in the community. I was kind of the tall, lanky kid running around with Fred all those years. But just had an amazing time, and this community really is special. Growing up in Albany, was a wonderful experience, but Binghamton is home now. I have a fiance, Mina. We just got engaged, which is very exciting. So we're definitely making this home now, and those are all the reasons why it's just I found myself in politics.
So how did it happen that you were chosen to be the Broome County chairman early this year, going back to last January?
Sure. So, politics is all about relationships, and I've really had a great opportunity to meet a lot of people. I'm smiling as Bob is taking a photo just now.
That's right. We always need file photos maybe for something on the website in the future. So if you hear this, that probably means I'm taking a picture for future use on WNBF.com.
I'm talking, showing some teeth at the same time. Ultimately, I'm responsible to the Broome County Republican Committee, which is made up of over 100 community members who believe in the Republican cause. They pass petitions every year for us. They support us at fundraisers, and they carry our message. So ultimately, those are the folks that elect me as chair. They elected B. Joy Dada, my predecessor, and will elect future chairs as well. I want to serve in this role as long as they'll have me, and that's kind of the process behind it.
And tell me about the past year, because you started in January, and then there were lots of local races that certainly Republicans were going to be interested in. We had the town supervisor's race in Vestal, mayor in the village of Johnson City, the DA's race, city council races in Binghamton. There were a lot of things that were going on, even though this is a non-presidential election year.
Sure. So I just want to be clear if anyone doesn't know what my role as Republican chair. My responsibility is to recruit candidates, raise money for those candidates, and then ultimately help them run their campaigns to get them elected. I was really proud of the successes that we had this year. Some of our top of the ticket races, Sherilyn Singa, a great woman who is going to be our next Supreme Court justice in the 6th Judicial District. Paul Battisti did an outstanding job winning really big in Broome County, across the county, kind of demonstrating that even though we're outnumbered, there's more Democrats in Broome County than Republicans, we're still winning those countywide races and their strength across the county. I was actually really proud to see Nick Burlingame be elected the Village of Endicott mayor, former young Republican. There were technically 2 Republicans on the ballot with current Mayor Linda Jackson on the ballot, and we were able to kind of tactfully run a campaign, a very positive campaign that was able to see, a Republican mayor there and a young Republican. The cool thing about the town of Union now is we have full Republican control. It's our biggest municipality by population. I know the city of Binghamton gets a lot of attention, but the town of Union is really our largest population center. And so we're very thrilled to see that, probably for the first time ever, complete Republican control in the town. And we're going to work really hard to keep that. And then in city council.
Yes, what happened in Binghamton?
Sure. It turns out people like divided government. We had full Republican control in the city of Binghamton for a long time, and I was proud to help on those previous campaigns where we were successful. But I kind of equate it to the Patriots beating the Jets 5 times in a row. We won in 13, 15, 17, 19, 21. There was bound to be a year that we weren't going to be able to deliver the goods. I will say that the fact that people are saying this was a landslide, we had 3 incumbents run. One of them was a tie, and one of them lost by 4 votes. So I just strongly believe that we have a very, very good leader in Mayor Jared Cram, who is going to continue to carry our message in City Hall. He's going to be able to work with the Democrats on City Council, and I'm confident that he's going to do just fine there.
And he has been already meeting with the incoming Democrats and starting a dialogue. Obviously, I'm sure as soon as he saw the results, how things were going on election night last month, he knew that if you're going to have any hope of accomplishing things over the next couple of years, you're going to have to develop a good rapport with some new faces. That's one of the things about City Council that I think will be so intriguing, not just the fact that we are going to see Democrats in power as opposed to Republicans, but that there are a lot of young new faces. So people in different parts of Binghamton will be able to probably benefit from potential new ideas as the city moves forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to make one more point about city council. One thing that my Democratic colleague and I both need to work on is turnout. Voter turnout in the city of Binghamton was 30%, and countywide it was 27%. So I think that falls both on my Democratic colleague and I to do a better job at turning out our voters. I don't think there was anything huge on the national stage last year that was driving turnout, but we need to do a better job at the local level because 30% is not great for people to be choosing our leadership at such a small number.
Why do you suppose that is? Because I know from talking with people around Binghamton, sometimes on the program, but just being out and about, it's not that people don't care about the city. It's not that most of the people who are of voting age in Binghamton are apathetic, but for whatever reason, at least this year, very few of them who were eligible to vote were motivated to get out to the polls. Why do you think the turnout was so low this year?
Well, a lot of it just comes down to atmosphere and above ballot races. I think there was a little more excitement in the 2015 election with the special election to replace Tom Libis. The contested district attorney's race in 2019, there was a lot of money being spent over top of the city council candidates. I don't think there was anything in particular that inspired voters to turn out this year. Our candidates worked incredibly hard. Let me just say this. Gio Scaringi, Sophia Resinetti, Tom Scanlon, and Phil Strawn, the city of Binghamton is better off today than when they took office. And I just appreciate all the work that they did for city of Binghamton residents.
Were you shocked at the degree of the Democrats' success last month?
No, I mean, again, I don't think the degree is as high as some people like to make it out to be. I mean, these races were in fact close. If you look at the margins, were we disappointed? Yes, but the thing about elections, Bob, is November comes and goes. And we fight on, and we focus on the next battles and keep trying to deliver wins for our Republican voters.
And as so often is the case with local races, and we saw it with the city council races, we've seen it both this year with district attorneys races and even 4 years ago. I mean, sometimes even a congressional race that wasn't settled here for several weeks. I mean, it went into January and became, I think, either the last or one of the final congressional races in the nation that was finally resolved because the outcome was so close. So the cliche, every vote counts, has been proven again and again.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the city council race where it was a tie. I'm going to remind every candidate and speak this as loudly as I can. Every vote truly does matter. And so, you saw that on the south side of Binghamton. You saw that in the Claudia Tenney congressional race. One of the initiatives that the RNC is working on that I'm going to plan on championing is this Bank Your Vote initiative. Republicans are kind of behind the times in casting our vote during early voting or absentee ballot. I think we have to play the Democrats' game. We can't just plan to catch up on Election Day and score all of our points in the fourth quarter. We need to be scoring field goals in the first in the first half, so we can ultimately win on Election Day. Just if you can't make it to the polls on Election Day and you've already banked your vote, you don't have to worry about it.
What did you think about the ruling about the congressional map? That's obviously a lot of Democrats viewed this week's ruling. I guess it came down on Tuesday enthusiastically, and many, if not most, Republicans are taking a pretty dim view about what this means, including Congressman Mark Molinaro. What's your assessment?
Well, the Democrats are cheering it because this process is ultimately going to go back to Democratic lawmakers in Albany, and I don't think that's good for anyone for them to have the final say on the maps. This could actually, work out in our favor. Some people are saying that this district could become more red. I'm not going to necessarily get into the details that or comment on that. I just think that opening back up this process when we have congressional maps as we're nearing mid-decade is irresponsible.
What can you do as a county party chairperson to encourage more people to consider running for local offices? I know I've talked with, in the past, Bijoy Dada and current and former Democratic chairs. One of the biggest challenges that each has faced is trying to persuade people in various communities that it is worth taking a chance, putting yourself out there in public under perhaps the harsh glare of the media, or at least prospective voters, to run for some of these offices. So sometimes you see key races in some Broome County communities where the incumbent's unopposed, and I'm not sure that's really good for anyone, including the incumbent, not to have a formal challenger.
Yeah, sure. So I think it's a couple things. I mean, it's about being a big tent, open party where we can accept a lot of different ideas. I know we ran candidates this year that were on the wide spectrum of values. There were, conservatives, and there was probably moderate Republicans. I think encouraging people to run for office, you're right, it's difficult in this political climate where you always have a target on your back. But I think making sure that the party has the tools to invest in these races, whether it's raising money, whether it's ensuring that they have volunteers by their side throughout the campaign. So just making sure that they have the tools that they need to be successful. And then ultimately, you got to find the people who have a servant's heart and who really are there for the right reasons and are there to serve the community. And we have plenty of those people in this community. And frankly, I would challenge your listeners to reach out to me. You can reach out to broomerepublicans@gmail.com or call at 607-723-8201. If you want to run for office, let's have a conversation. We have, hundreds of, maybe not hundreds, but over 100 races this year coming up, and we'd love to get you involved or have you on our committee to start.
What will it mean for Broome County Republicans and maybe just New York Republicans in general if Donald Trump is the party's presidential nominee next November? How big an influence or impact would Mr. Trump's presence on the ballot be?
Sure. I mean, I guess the answer is I really don't know. It kind of remains to be seen. I'm not trying to avoid your question here, but what I'm really excited about is the fact that Biden is really slipping in the polls. He's hemorrhaging support from younger people. He's hemorrhaging support from minority communities, African Americans and Latinos. People just think he's too old and he's not doing a good job for our country. Bidenomics, I don't know why he would put his name on not a good product, not a good economic product. So I'm actually more, the big question is always, what is Trump going to do to New York Republicans? I'm actually more focused on what is Biden's sagging numbers going to do to New York Democrats and what that looks like for the success of our candidates.
Well, a lot can happen. I was just doing the math. I think it's only 325 days till the election, so a lot can happen between now and next November. And this is a hypothetical, but what if, in your view, say Donald Trump is the Republican chairman, and for whatever reason, the Democrats ultimately decide that Joe Biden is not the way to go, and they find some relatively young, new candidate, perhaps like Barack Obama was, basically an unknown to most people across the country. I think he was in his early 40s when he suddenly appeared on the scene and was very successful. What if the Democrats managed to find a young, new candidate that could inspire their base and going up against Donald Trump? Obviously, he does have millions of supporters, but he also has millions of people who are not in his camp. Would that pose a major problem, not just for getting a Republican back in the White House, but also in terms of what it would mean for local races, say in Broome County or elsewhere in New York State? Do you think that would put Republicans at a big disadvantage?
I mean, that's one scenario out of many. I think we have a situation where if any major party, the Democrats or Republicans, move on from the two favorites right now, they're going to have a leg up in this race. What I want to see is a competitive Republican primary. We had Ted Cruz come to town, I think it was 7 years ago now, during that the 2016 presidential primaries. I want Broome County to benefit from that Republican discourse. I want people to come here. I want national media to be here and have a spotlight on Broome County, because we're a swing county. And I think you've seen across the years, Biden won in 2020, Trump won in 2016, and Obama before that. So we're kind of a bellwether. And so I think the more attention that's on Broome County and the more success we have as Republicans, I think that's just good for our community.
Broome County Republican Chair Benji Federman. Oh, by the way, you're no relation to Pennsylvania's U.S. Senator. That's Fetterman, John Fetterman.
Yes.
And Benji Federman has no relation, no ties to Pennsylvania's well-known U.S. Senator.
Yes, Benji Federman, 1D.
All right.
Yep.
Case people, nobody ever asked me, but just in case people were wondering.
Well, I heard you before the show. You were talking about nicknames, and I go by Benjamin or Benji. It's just
What's your preference?
I actually like Benji.
All right. That's what I surmised, but I wasn't positive. I know in most news accounts, since you've become the chair, and even before, it was typically by Benji. So anyway, great to see you.
Yeah, thanks for chatting.
2024 is going to be interesting. Who knows? Maybe at some point we'll have you and your Democratic counterpart come into the studio and talk politics. I think it's always fascinating. There are always so many topics to discuss when it comes to local, state, and national races.
Yeah, thank you. And I'll just say really quickly, I haven't had a chance to meet my Democratic counterpart, but I have a lot of respect for Democrats and their efforts as well. We're all in this together, make the community a better place. We might not agree on the issues, but I understand she's doing the same thing on her side that I'm trying to do, and I do respect that.
Thank you. And I wish you the best during the holidays and a happy new year.
Happy holidays, Bob. Thank you.